using the limited fact set available. We don't really know much at this stage, but sweeping dumb generalizations are what the media do, so we would do that. And of course, we'd need a very specific script in order to make those generalizations. So what do we conclude from what happened yesterday? Well, first off, the shooter was a woman. She was female. So clearly, America has a problem with toxic femininity. And we need to address that crisis right away, starting with more university panel shaming an entire gender. Somebody alert the HR department to this. And then there's the gun. We'd focus relentlessly on the gun because nothing is more pivotal in a shooting than the weapon that was used. It's always the gun's fault, always. The shooter in this case used a Smith & Wesson 9mm handgun. Those guns need to be banned tomorrow, along with all other assault pistols. And if you disagree with that, you're evil. Next, the shooter was a vegan and a supporter of PETA. Therefore, PETA is now a terrorist organization. Anyone who supports PETA, even those supporters who disapprove of mass shootings, is a monster and has blood on his hands. Let's hope that CNN hosts a town hall meeting where YouTube employees can scream at PETA spokesmen. They deserve to be screamed at. They caused the shooting. But wait, media outlets aren't reaching any of those conclusions. Why not? Well, because there's no obvious way to use this shooting to advance the objectives of the Democratic Party. So the media will stop talking about it soon. That's how corrupt they are. They're also incredibly stupid, especially on the subject of firearms. The people yelling at you about guns on television aren't sure what end the bullet comes out of. They're kids, they're children, with all the ignorance and moral certainty of fifth graders. We could show you a million examples of that because they're everywhere. But here's the most amusing one we've seen recently. It happened yesterday. This is MSNBC's resident genius, Nicole Wallace, mistaking the opening of a soda can for gunfire. Watch.
Steve Schmidt, I always go back to the horror of 9/11 and the complete reliance. You know, we are in our tribes, we're in our corners most of our lives. I think we just heard some gunshots. Should we listen to that for a second, control room? Is that not gunshots? Okay.
Not gunshots? No, Nicole, not gunshots. Pretty funny. But be certain to listen very carefully as she lectures you about the Second Amendment, because she knows a lot about it. Pete Hegseth is Fox & Friends weekend host. He's a former member of the U.S. military, a decorated one, and he joins us tonight. So, Pete, it's a pretty simple question. We kind of know the script. We know the way these things unfold, how they're analyzed in the press. We draw sweeping conclusions from a pretty limited set of facts. You're not hearing that tonight. You're not hearing the other channels say toxic femininity is a threat to America. Why is that?
Well, of course you're not. Wrong bad guy, Tucker. Wrong bad guy. Female of Iranian descent. She's a fitness buff. She's a vegan. She's a PETA member. Not an NRA member. Not a Trump supporter. Not a member of the NRA. And as a result, doesn't fit the very convenient narrative. And as a result, it's silence, Tucker. I mean, it is NBC, CBS, negligent coverage. ABC, glancing blow. NBC said she's apparently an animal rights activist. They're moving away from this as quickly as they can with almost... imagine if it was an NRA member that did this. Is he apparently an NRA member, or is he actually an NRA member? In this case, apparently an animal rights activist. But no judgment or blood on the hands of a PETA member, always blood on the hands of an NRA member, because it would be absurd to me to define an entire population as violent because they believe in animal rights, just like it's absurd to believe an entire population of Second Amendment supporters believes in violence because they support our rights.
So I'm a little confused here. So what you're suggesting, and my producer just said in my ear, he's watching the other channels, none of them are covering this right now, that the coverage of gun crimes really isn't an effort to reduce the number of gun crimes. It's an effort to make a series of partisan points? Is that what you're saying?
It's an effort to impugn the Second Amendment and those who support it, Tucker. I mean, ultimately, it all depends on the labels that apply. You know this, identity politics are one-sided. If you, a white Christian male who voted for Donald Trump and believe in the Second Amendment, who owns an AR-15, then you must have a proclivity to violence. But you are a female of any other shade who owns a handgun and supports animals, and you commit violence. Nothing to see here. Turn the channel. Good Morning America, as they did this morning, will not even cover this shooting, and won't draw a larger narrative as a result. Again, apparently an animal rights activist. This is what the modern media has turned into: cheerleading for a cause, which is taking away our guns, which is exactly what we know they want to do, as opposed to reporting the news and then moving on if it's not relevant.
It doesn't sound like journalism. It does seem to me that it crosses a line when it moves from attacking the president personally. They don't like Trump. I get it. He doesn't like them, by the way.
Sure.
From that, which you could sort of understand, you probably shouldn't do it, but I get it, to moving over to advocating for specific policies that affect 320 million Americans as if there's only one side of the debate. It moves from childish annoyance to full-on propaganda.
Of course,
doesn't it?
I've heard journalists on other networks say it is our obligation to continue to talk about the Parkland shooting because we owe it to the American people to keep the conversation alive. If we don't talk about it, the conversation doesn't continue and policies don't change in Washington, D.C. If that doesn't sound like activism, I don't know what is. I mean, it's your job to report the news that is relevant, and a mass shooting is, of course, relevant. You cover it, and then you move on as necessary. But they're deciding what to cover and dwell on to try to change
That's
policy.
right. But what's so striking is, I mean, if you were going to pick a topic that the media would lobby on, maybe camera angles or lighting, they sort of make up. I mean, they're experts in that stuff. But is there any group in America that knows less about firearms? Nicole Wallace mistook a soda opening for gunshots.
I opened my my Diet Mountain Dew, which I happen to like, and no one around here jumped and thought it was an AR-15, let alone a 9mm. I mean, I need Diet Mountain Dew because I'm up at 6 in the morning like you used to be. It keeps us awake, but I've never mistaken, nor anyone I know would mistake that as gunfire. They know nothing, Tucker. How many members of this media are members of the NRA? How many of them have ever fired an AR-15, let alone an M4, which I carried, let alone a 249 squad automatic weapon? They don't know a squad automatic weapon from a BB gun. Yet they're going to tell me what I can or cannot carry. Of course it's political activism to help their Democratic buddies. They're in the tank. It's not convenient. They're not going to cover it.
Who put all the dumb people on TV? I always ask myself that. Pete, it's great to see you. You're not one of them. And I appreciate your coming on tonight. Thank you. Well, several tech CEOs responded to the YouTube shooting by demanding that regular people be deprived of their right to carry firearms. That would include Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey. He tweeted this, quote, "We can't keep being reactive to this and thinking and praying it won't happen again at our schools, jobs, our community spots. It is beyond time to evolve our policies." He didn't specify which ones, but you know what he was talking about. He cares much more than you do. Dorsey then endorsed demands issued by the March for Our Lives. Those would include, again, not specific, banning high-capacity magazines, confiscating all weapons designated as assault weapons. Now, what's interesting about all this is that in 2015, Twitter, the company he runs, spent more than $68,000 providing, yes, personal security to Jack Dorsey. Were those guards unarmed? Right. No, they weren't. Joel Payne is former director of African American advertising for Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign. He joins us tonight. Great to see you, Joel. I appreciate your coming on. So it's hard to read this as anything else but an effort by the people in charge to bring more power to themselves, which is what people in charge do kind of instinctively. We get the guns, you don't, shut up and obey. Why is that not what's happening right now?
Tucker, I don't really think that's the right way to look at this issue, and I really enjoyed listening to your conversation with your colleague a little bit earlier. I'm interested to hear that you guys think that it's funny that someone on TV in this environment thought that a soda can opening was a gunshot. You thought that was funny.
I think it's idiotic. Just to clarify, I want to say that I think it's
people hear gunshots all the time, and they don't think it's funny.
But that studio didn't have gunshots. It had a soda opening. And my point is that if you're going to advocate for positions, you have a moral obligation to learn something about the topic. And most people who are doing that haven't bothered to learn. And that's the problem. I'm not in any way denigrating the fear people feel in the face of gunfire. I'm making fun of people mistaking a Mountain Dew can for gunfire. But the point is, ordinary people are afraid. You're absolutely right. I think we agree on that. So why would the people in charge who are protected by armed security demand that no one else be allowed to protect himself, if you see what I mean?
Well, I have some frustration towards what I heard from the Twitter CEO today, but for a different reason. I don't like this this trend that we have of waiting for gun violence to come to your backyard before you get woke about it. I mean, just because it happened at a tech company yesterday, is you got this letter with all these tech CEOs who decided to sign on. Listen, I was touched recently by gun violence. I had a very close friend that was impacted by what happened at the Veterans Home in California. But guess what? I felt strongly about gun violence and about all of the concerns around that. Before that, it didn't take that issue to make to pique my interest. By the way, I think it's very interesting, Tucker. A lot of the people who watch this show and a lot of people who watch this network feel the same way I do. If you look at the polling,
well, I feel
on,
the same
on
way you
high
do.
capacity
I'm
magazines,
very
on
upset
bump
about,
stocks, et cetera. Yeah.
Yeah?
I was just going to say. Yeah.
No, but
Yeah,
hold
ahead,
on. Let's be honest. And one of the sort of pieces of political rhetoric that drives me the craziest is the idea that only a select few care about gun violence. I think most people, most normal people, are horrified by shootings. I know I am. So the question is not, do you feel deeply about it? Are you upset? Of course you're upset. The question is, what's the most effective response? What's the wise thing to do? That's where the debate is. It's not over who cares and who doesn't. Everybody cares. I mean, come on now.
So yeah, I would turn that question back to you and say, what should we do? Yeah, I mean, the NRA...
I think, well, I'll give you a perfect example. So with the Parkland shooting, we have a well-documented string of failures by people whose job it was to protect the kids in that school, and they didn't. There were 4 armed cops outside, 4, who heard the gunfire and didn't go in. I never heard their names mentioned at the March for Our Lives. I doubt you know their names. I never hear anybody mention that. We hired people to protect those kids. 17 were murdered because they didn't act, but it's the NRA's fault? That's insane. That's just pure politics. You're not taking it seriously if you reach that conclusion, I would say.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. There were a lot of people who failed those children that day. Some of them were the people who didn't run into those buildings, but a number of them were people who were in the State House in Tallahassee and who were in Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Those people also failed.
No, but
we had the chance to act. You could have acted after Sandy Hook. You could have acted after Aurora. You had so many opportunities to act.
You're defending the people in power, as almost everyone on the left does. The people in power are blameless. They didn't do anything wrong. It's you out there who've committed no crime whatsoever. The guns in my closet, if I had them, would be no threat to anybody. But I have to disarm. But the cops whose job it was to protect the kids, they're cool. We can't blame them. It's some legislator.
I didn't say that. I actually agreed with you. I said they share some blame. I said that the blame didn't end with them, though. It also extended to the people who were in Tallahassee at their State House and in Capitol Hill and at State Houses all across the country who failed to act. Yeah.
So what should they have done? I take you seriously. It's why I wanted to talk to you tonight. So just in the minute and a half we have left, just give me a discrete step, specific step that they could have taken to prevent the Parkland shooting, for example.
Well, let's look at a couple things. Why hasn't the president acted on bump stocks? I thought he was hot to trot on that. I thought that was something that the president thought he could act on.
A bump stock makes your rifle less accurate. See, this is like you don't know anything about guns.
Here's the problem, though, Tucker. Your answer here is, well, it wouldn't stop this specific act.
I'm asking an honest question, which is what's... No,
we have a gun violence culture.
Okay, so you're blaming the State House in Tallahassee for our culture?
Actually, I am, because we have a laissez-faire culture to gun violence.
Okay,
and we have a culture that has accepted that gun violence is something we can't do anything about when we know we can.
I feel it is something we can do something about. And when armed guards neglect their duty to protect children, I think we should hold them accountable. You instead shifted the blame from the people who actually had power to people whose other positions you don't like in the State House, Republicans. And I asked then, trying to be rational, what should they have done? And you said Trump should ban bump stocks, which had no role in the Parkland shooting.
I was going to say a little bit more. The president can act on this. By the way, the NRA, they could be partners here, right? The NRA is running scared. The reason why you see them turning John Paul Stevens and a bunch of 17-year-olds into boogeymen is because they know public sentiment is at an all-time low for what they fight for, which is the right for gun manufacturers to make money.
But you're arguing rhetoric and bumper stickers. I want actual solutions because, you know, like you, I care. I wanted to know what the new law is that would have prevented Parkland. There are a lot of shootings, a lot of different causes. I asked for one specific answer to that one, and I got bump stocks and John Paul Stevens.
I can give you more. I can give you more.
Well, how about one?
We can restrict access to people who are mentally ill to having guns.
But we already have done that.
We can stop terrorists from purchasing guns. We could have done that. Congress wouldn't do that. You got Toomey's legislation. You got Manchin's legislation.
We already have
you got Durbin's legislation. So many people have tried to act on this, but the intransigence in Washington, led by the NRA, won't allow it.
That's a lie. If you go buy a gun, it screens people who are mentally ill. The authorities, the actual authorities, failed to screen this kid despite the fact everyone knew he was mentally ill. They didn't do anything, and they're not being
blamed. Unfortunately, the majority of Americans and the majority of Republicans actually disagree with you, and the polling reflects that.
Well, okay. I don't know what to say. Those are the facts. Joel, thank you. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. Well, at the top of the show, one of our guests mentioned that GMA did not cover the YouTube shooting. In fact, that show did spend time on the shooting this morning over the course of a couple hours. We wanted to correct that. Washington, excuse me, I have a frog in my throat. Washington elites are horrified that the president may want to send troops to guard our border, but they're also horrified that those troops may have to leave Syria. It tells you everything about their priorities, and we're going to unpack it for you next.
Tucker Carlson is brought to you by Pacific Life, protecting generations of families for 150 years. That's the power of Pacific.
Some moments can change everything. You can't always predict them, but you can game plan for them. For 150 years, generations of families have chosen Pacific Life for retirement and life insurance solutions to help them reach their goals. Being ready for wherever life leads. That's the power of Pacific. Ask a financial advisor about Pacific Life.
At Safe Flight Auto Glass, we know that when you're spending time with the grandkids, every minute counts. And you don't have time for a cracked windshield. That's why we show you exactly when we'll be there, saving you time so you can keep saving the world.
Feel the clarity of non-drowsy Claritin and relief from symptoms caused by over 200 allergens, like those from Buddy. Because stuffed animals are clearly no substitute for real ones. Feel the clarity and live Claritin Clear.
The all-new 2018 Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross, starting at $23,295. Lease an all-new Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross for as low as $189 a month.
Fries for 316, please. Thank you.
David, what's going on?
Oh, hey.
That's it?
Yeah.
Everybody, 2 seconds.
Dear Sebastian, after careful consideration of your application, it is with great pleasure that we offer our congratulations on your acceptance.
Through the Tuition Assistance Program, every day, McDonald's helps more people go to college. It's part of our commitment to being America's best first job.
Fox News Channel on Sirius XM. Your favorite shows on Channel 114. Plus, every story, every 15 minutes. Fox News headlines 24/7 at Channel 115.
What's available on demand from Optimum this month? Justice League.
This world will fall, like all the others.
Don't engage alone. We'll do this together.
Marvel Studios' Thor, Ragnarok.
Out of your fingers, was that like sparkles?
Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle.
Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry.
Welcome to Jumanji. Watch these plus tons of other on-demand movies all month long. Optimum.
Make your home improvement dreams a reality at the Long Island Home Show, Saturday, April 7th and Sunday, April 8th at NYCB Live, home of the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum, and enjoy free admission. At the Home Show, meet with experts in remodeling, kitchens, bathrooms, windows, roofing, siding, solar, general contracting, and fabulous landscape exhibits, all while checking out hundreds of home improvement companies. Shop, compare, and save. For info, visit lihomeshows.com.
Every once in a while, one of those stories comes along where the red light goes off and you suddenly understand what's going on just beneath the surface. It all makes sense. That happened today. So the administration recently suggested it wants to pull American troops out of Syria now that ISIS has been crushed and the official mission has been achieved. How did Washington react to this? The idea that our troops might come home? Totally outraged. Senator Lindsey Graham, the Republican of South Carolina, called that, quote, the single worst decision the president could make. Others imputed darker motives. A writer called Amy Siskin tweeted this, quote, after our military discussed sending in more troops, Trump suddenly and unilaterally decides to pull our troops out. Who does this help? Hint, Putin. Unilaterally. Hilarious. He's the president. Well, CNN and the Washington Post, of course, made the same claim. If you don't support yet another foreign war with no clear objective or end date, you're in league with our enemies. You're unpatriotic. They tell us that American troops absolutely have to be fighting in Syria. Okay, you've heard that for years. But at the same time, They tell us that American troops absolutely should not be protecting America's own borders, only for the defense of other countries. In recent years, we have spent hundreds of millions of dollars helping Jordan, Egypt, Israel, Libya, other countries protect their borders. That's great, says the panel on Morning Joe. But defending our own borders is a crime against humanity. Your son is welcome to die in Syria, as one American soldier already has. That's patriotic. But defending America, totally and completely immoral. Who put these people in charge exactly? You know exactly what they think of the country, not much. David DeFurry is a former State Department official. He joins us now. David, these two stories really tell you everything. You have people, bipartisan, it's not just Democrats at all, saying we have a moral obligation to keep the borders of Syria intact. We don't want unauthorized people coming into Syria, the Kurds, the Persians. We got to keep them out. But to use our military to protect our borders, that's the whiff of military rule. It's immoral. How does that work?
Well, that's not why we have U.S. soldiers in Syria. It's not to protect the borders. It's primarily to fight terrorism, in fact, to fight ISIS. I was just in Iraq 3 weeks ago again. When I was there, what I saw is that ISIS is almost defeated. It's lost its territory in Iraq. It's lost its territory in Syria. But remember, it was created out of Syria, so it's a precarious situation. Moreover, the fundamental reasons why ISIS came into being are not gone yet. There are still divisions in Iraq, divisions in Syria, problems with the government that created ISIS, and therefore we need to be there to finish the job with ISIS. But more importantly,
but actually, did the U.S. government and our 2,000 troops or the Assad government do more to fight ISIS? Oh, wait, let me answer that question. And I know that Nikki Haley is telling us it's a living hell and Assad is Satan, but actually, bad guy, did a lot to fight ISIS. I mean, let's be honest about that.
He's done very little to fight ISIS, Tucker.
Okay,
in fact, many think that he's also partly responsible for letting ISIS be there because it's a convenient foe to have
who are the ones who
in
think
Syria. But let's go back to Trump. Let's go back to Trump's policy on Syria because it started quite well. In February 2017, he did airstrikes on Assad because Assad used chemical weapons. It looked like he was going to actually diverge from.
That's never been proved. I think
that's absolutely
yet more propaganda.
Been proven.
No, it absolutely has not been proved. We had no one on the ground to verify that as of the moment that we sent airstrikes into Syria in retaliation. We didn't. No American verified that. I don't know that we know that that's true. It's like one of these things that all smart people are, oh, it's true. Are you unpatriotic? Are you for Putin? No, I don't believe that's true, actually.
Tucker, all of the reporting from the ground suggests it's true.
There was no reporting,
and including
from the ground.
Doctors who examined the victims of Assad said it's true.
American doctors.
President Trump and the Republican administration believed it was true. That's why they did airstrikes.
Couldn't agree more, and I was skeptical when that happened because my job is not to ratify every decision Trump makes, but to explain what I think is right for our country. So why is it we spent 2,000 troops into Syria in the middle of a conflict we don't even understand, but it's immoral to send them to keep the invasion on our southern border from continuing into our country? How does that work?
Let's talk about Syria first, and then we'll talk about the troops going to the border. So the troops are in Syria for very important reasons. Remember, these are special forces troops, so they're not doing all the fighting. They're some of our best fighters, but they're also training the indigenous forces in Syria, and they made a lot of progress working with the Syrian Kurds.
Okay,
and the Syrian Kurds are our friends.
Great for
and the Syrian Kurds have put their lives on the line to fight ISIS with us, and if we pull out suddenly, we're leaving them to be killed by ISIS.
How about the Southern Californians who were born in this country?
Okay, let's talk about
including me. I'm a native Southern Californian. No one is looking out for my interests because I'm not a Syrian Kurd.
You're right. We have every right to protect our border, and President Trump put forward a border proposal with a budget to Congress in order to do that. He failed to push that through. It was a failure in leadership.
So why is
with
it
a
immoral
Republican
to protect
Congress.
Our country with our military?
It's not immoral. It is moral to protect our country. If we have to, if there's a crisis situation, we should protect our country with our military. But
you got 11 million people living here illegally. That's not a crisis.
The appropriate force to protect the border is the Border Patrol, which comes under the Department of Homeland Security. And President Trump put forward a proposal to fund them, and he should be able to push that through Congress.
So
and if
the left wants to abolish ICE.
He should not treat a situation that's not a crisis as a crisis.
Not the crisis.
You bring in the National Guard
not
when
the
you have a
crisis of the Syrian Kurds. I want my son to go fight on behalf of the Syrian Kurds. I'm just getting
ISIS, ISIS, which is responsible for deaths in America and across Europe. That's who we're fighting.
Okay. I appreciate it. David, thank you.
Thank you.
On the left, you may have noticed everything is about race. Everything, even things that have nothing to do with race. Most things are about economics, by the way. Doesn't matter. One channel is calling the president a racist for mocking Barack Obama, part of a long theme. We'll get to it in a minute.
Hi, I'm William Devane. And you know, these days we take a lot for granted. Used to be just having wood for the fire and a little food for your table was all you needed to feel secure. Not anymore. Now rising debt is chopping away at the value of our dollar, like this, and that troubles me, which is why I buy gold as often as I can. I buy my gold from Roslyn Capital because I trust them. Roslyn has the fastest shipping and the best customer service around. With all the money printed by shaky governments, protecting my purchasing power against the rising threat of inflation is more critical now than ever. Protect what you've worked hard for. Buy gold from Roslyn Capital.
Call now and get your free Roslyn Capital Gold Kit, Silver Kit, and free IRA Transfer Kit. Call 800-630-8900, 800-630-8900, 800-630-8900.
You wouldn't accept an incomplete job from anyone else, so why accept it from your allergy pills? Most pills don't finish the job because they don't relieve nasal congestion. Flonase Allergy Relief is different. Flonase relieves sneezing, itchy, watery eyes, and a runny nose, plus nasal congestion, which pills don't. Flonase helps block 6 key inflammatory substances. Most pills only block 1, and 6 is greater than 1. Start your day with Flonase for more complete allergy relief. Flonase, this changes everything.
Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things.
Weeds, nature's boomerang. At Roundup, we know they keep coming back. Draw the line. One spray of Roundup Max Control 365 kills to the root and keeps weeds away for up to 1 year. Roundup, trusted for over 40 years.
Salonpas. We're the world leader in medicinal pain patches.
Our latest innovation, Salonpas Lidocaine, using hydrogel-based technology with the maximum strength lidocaine
you can buy without a prescription.
Salonpas Lidocaine. Nothing is proven stronger or more effective against pain.
I lost 50 pounds on Jenny Craig, and you can too.
Introducing Rapid Results by Jenny Craig. Lose up to 16 pounds in just 4 weeks. Pasta, pizza, burgers. You get to eat really good food 6 times a day, and you don't even have to cook. The program includes a personal weight loss expert who understands men. None of that group meeting stuff.
This is the best program for a busy guy.
Now lose 16 pounds for $16 plus the cost of food, and get $100 in free food. Hurry, this offer won't last long.
Nothing says spring like fresh flowers, so let's promote our spring travel deal on choicehotels.com like this. Earn 1 free night when you stay just twice this spring.
Allergies.
Or, bada book, bada boom.
Book now at choicehotels.com.
Who can help you undo the damage done by fire or water? Search no further than the experts at ServiceMaster Restore. We help people go from disaster to done. ServiceMaster Restore.
Well, a lot of people hate the president, so of course everything he does must be motivated by racial animus because racism is bad, so of course Trump would be a bad racist. Yesterday on CNN, former White House Communications Director Jen Psaki said that President Trump's Cheatin' Obama nickname was not just weird, it was racist.
Given Trump's history, you can also guess that there might be racial undertones there. He was the founder of the birther movement. Perhaps I'm going to a very evil place with that, but I think history tells us that's a possibility.
I don't know, evil, just like weird and confusing. Okay, maybe it's racist. How? Never explained. Meanwhile, over at CNN, commentator Tara Setmayer said it's okay to call black Republicans racial slurs. Watch.
It takes somebody with very thick skin to go out there and be black and say, I'm a Republican, I'm a conservative, because what's going to happen is they're going to come on your
I've
network.
lived it for 25
what's going to happen is that if they're going to come on your network and they're going to be called everything but a child of God, they're going to be called an Uncle Tom, and everything like that.
What are you
and so
talking
first
about?
things first, are you going to sit there and act like that's not true?
Well, if you act like it and someone calls you out on it, then we can't do anything about that. Maybe the messengers
So
need
it's
to be
okay
better.
to actually call someone a particular name as long as you feel like they're acting like that. Is that what you're saying?
Poor Don Lemon. Nice guy. Show's really unbelievable. Christopher Harris was on it the other night. He's the man you saw sitting there. He's executive director of Unhyphenated America, and he joins us tonight. So I watched that clip, and first I felt so bad for you, but I also thought it was kind of an amazing moment where you basically had someone defending the use of racial slurs because they're politically expedient.
Well, what happened, Tucker, was that the left showed who they really are. I mean, of course, Tara calls herself a conservative and a Republican, but yeah, I mean, well, we'll let her say what she wants to say. But at the end of the day, what the left does is they try to put everybody in a box.
Yeah.
And we, with Unhyphenated America, what we believe is that America's best when it's unhyphenated. That if you believe in, if you embrace, if you understand that and embrace the principles of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, then you're an American, and there's no need for any prefix or suffix. You're just an American. And so trying to put everybody into a particular box, saying that you must think a particular way because of your paint job, as one of my buddies says, the melanin content in your skin, is one of the problems that the left has. And what they're doing is they're focusing on identity politics, and they try to say, well, Donald Trump obviously must be a racist because, well, look at the lack of diversity, without kind of doing some critical analysis and saying, well, how many black people actually applied for a White House internship? And even then, when you look at what happened with Ms. Setmeyer, is that she just vilified any black person who doesn't toe the line.
Well, exactly. So what happens, I mean, and one of the reasons for the hysteria, I think, is Trump actually got a higher percentage of the black vote than the Republican who ran before him, Mitt Romney. Not a ton, but more, so that freaked him out. But what happens to the country long term if you encourage everyone in it, of all colors, to think of themselves first as members of a racial or ethnic group? Like, what happens over time?
Balkanization.
Yeah.
You know, the term, a lot of people are not familiar with it, but the Balkan region, what you have is a lot of different tribes, different groups of people who are all constantly warring against each other. And one of the things that, I mean, we are the United States of America. I mean, granted, you have people, you're maybe a Virginian or you're a South Carolinian or a Texan or whatever like that. And so you might have a certain amount of pride for being from the state that you're from. But at the end of the day, we're all Americans. We have something unifying in our culture. It's, once again, it's those beliefs in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And it's one of those things that they keep trying to push these identity politics to say that you must think a particular way because of the color of your skin. But more importantly, they want you to believe that they want me to believe that because of the color of my skin, that I'm inherently a victim, that I will always be a victim, and that I should vote a particular way for the people who, I guess, they want to protect me. But we can look at the black community overall, and here's the reality. What has gotten better in the past 50 years, as long as blacks have been voting 70+% for the Democratic Party? No one can say that things have gotten better from economic standpoint. The schools haven't gotten better. Economically, we're not doing better. Family-wise, we're not doing better. But yet, these are the points that they keep wanting to push with these identity politic issues, and it's just really maddening.
Do you think, quickly, that maybe the identity politics is designed to distract people from thinking about their actual circumstances, from asking the questions you just raised, which is like, is my life better? Am I making more? Is my family better off? If they can wave the red flag of race in front of you, maybe you won't think about those things.
Well, Don, the reality is, I mean, I attend McLean Bible Church, which is a huge church. It's an ethnically diverse church. I mean, I always say that the culture is Christian, but it's an ethnically diverse church. We have over 100 different ethnicities represented at our church. And when you have people interacting one-on-one, there's no real issues of racism.
Exactly. And church is the best possible example of that. Thank you very much. That was great.
Thank you for having me.
Google is expanding research efforts in China that could eventually help the Chinese military overcome the American military, and that's terrifying the more you learn about it. The most recent installment of our Tech Tyranny series is coming up next.
Applebee's to go. Order online and get $10 off $30. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood.
Maria's always on the go. taking over 7,000 steps each day, and she does it in any shoe she wants, with lasting comfort. Only Dr. Scholl's stylish step has insoles that are clinically proven to provide all-day comfort. Dr. Scholl's, born to move.
This is a tomato you can track from farm to pot, to jar, to table, and serve with confidence that it's safe. This is a diamond you can follow from mine to finger, and trust it never fell into the wrong hands. This is a shipment transferred 200 times, transparently tracked from port to port. This is the IBM blockchain, built for smarter business, built to run on the IBM cloud.
Wouldn't you like to be out on the rolling sea with only the sky above?
Hey, Grandpa. Hey, kid. Really good to see you. You too. You told Grandma you were going fishing again?
Maybe. The best things in life keep going. That's why I got a Subaru too.
Love is out there. Find it in a Subaru Crosstrek.
You know, I used to be good at this. You turn 40 and everything goes.
Tell me about it.
You know, it's made me think I'm closer to my retirement days than I am my college days. I'm thinking, will I have enough? Should I change something?
Well, you're asking the right questions.
Well, I just want to know, am I going to be okay?
I know people who specialize in am I going to be okay.
I like that.
You may need glasses, though.
Yeah.
Schedule a complimentary goal planning session today with TD Ameritrade.
Over a year ago, I was diagnosed with advanced non-small cell lung cancer.
A true story with Keytruda.
My world came crashing down.
Come on, kids.
But I was not ready to give up.
After testing for high levels of PD-L1, I started on Keytruda.
In a clinical study, Keytruda offered patients a longer life than chemotherapy, and it's an immunotherapy that can be your first treatment. Keytruda is for adults with non-small cell lung cancer that has spread, who test positive for PD-L1, and whose tumors do not have an abnormal EGFR or ALK gene. Keytruda can cause your immune system to attack normal organs and tissues in your body and affect how they work, and may be serious and lead to death. See your doctor right away if you experience new or worsening cough, chest pain, shortness of breath, diarrhea, severe stomach pain or tenderness, nausea or vomiting, rapid heartbeat, increased hunger or thirst, constipation, dizziness or fainting, changes in urine, changes in eyesight, muscle pain or weakness, joint pain, rash, itching or flushing, as this may keep these problems from becoming more serious. These are not all the possible side effects of Keytruda. Tell your doctor about all your medical conditions, including immune system problems, or if you've had an organ transplant, or lung, breathing, or liver problems.
I used to take the small things for granted. I don't anymore.
Living longer is possible. It's true. Keytruda for Merck. Ask your doctor about Keytruda, with more FDA-approved uses for advanced lung cancer than any other immunotherapy.
Guys, is this you? Busting out of your pants? No energy or drive? Then you need Nutrisystem for Men. New for 2018, our best program ever. Now, lose up to 18 pounds and 8 inches overall in your first month. Money back guarantee.
I'm Chris, and I lost 120 pounds on Nutrisystem.
Order on drop18now.com and get NutriCurd bars and NutriPro shakes to help shrink your belly. Plus, turbo boosters to rev your metabolism, all free.
It's simple. You eat the food, you lose the weight.
Go to drop18now.com and get Nutrisystem for Men with bars, shakes, and boosters free.
All this week, we're airing special reports on tech tyranny, looking at how big tech companies are gaining more and more power and endangering a lot of things that we think are important, like democracy and clear thinking. Here's another example. China's military is obsessed with artificial intelligence and is investing massive resources into developing an advantage over our military in artificial intelligence. Eric Schmidt chairs Alphabet, that's the parent company of Google. He's admitted that China will soon be the world's leader in AI, and they'll use it for military purposes. He's right, maybe. Now, Google is dramatically expanding its artificial intelligence research operations in China, which is bolstering an effort that could eventually imperil the security of this country. Paul Scher is the author of Army of None, Autonomous Weapons and the Future of War, which looks like a horrifying book. Haven't read it yet, but I plan to. Paul joins us tonight. Thanks, Paul, for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So give us the overview of this. Did I characterize it fairly, do you think?
Look, it's not surprising that Google's looking to make research investments in China. China's got top-tier AI talent. Human capital is key here. And they've got access to a lot of data. China will have 20% of the world's data by 2020. And data is the fuel that powers machine learning. And so to a company like Google, they want access to all that data. So they've said, yeah, they've made very clear that they're standing up more research in China. And that is concerning for the United States.
Well, so I guess what I'm confused by is, so Google describes itself as a multinational company, really a kind of corporation of the world. But it was incubated here. And everything about Google fundamentally is American. It wouldn't have been possible to start Google in China. And yet Google doesn't seem to feel any obligation whatsoever to the U.S. government or to the American people. So how does that work exactly?
Look, this is capitalism. I mean, these companies are responsible.
Actually.
Well, these companies are responsible to their shareholders. They're not accountable to the American people, and so they're going to do what's in their business interests. And if there's a business interest to move overseas, to stand up a research center, to offshore jobs, they're going to do that.
So American taxpayers subsidize the education of the people who founded Google and who work there, and we create the regulatory and legal framework possible for it to start. Again, no other company like this has started in Europe, for example, certainly not in Asia. So we make it possible, and then they turn around and undermine the national security of the country. I know that people describe that as market capitalism, but that seems immoral to me.
Look, at the end of the day, we're in a technology race, and it's not just China, it's other countries as well. Vladimir Putin has said whoever controls AI will lead the world. France just released a new plan on artificial intelligence. We're going to have to compete. We're going to have to make the U.S. an attractive place for people to come and invest and do AI research and found companies and grow them. And we're going to have to win this race by being faster than others.
Well, here's another thing that confuses me, and since you've covered it, maybe you've got the answer. So companies like Google are big on importing talent, and they argue, and I understand why, and they argue that we just don't have enough engineers, for example, so we need to bring them in on H-1B visas. Is there any thought by the billionaires who run these companies, hey, maybe we should take some of our billions and invest in American education? This country isn't producing an adequate number of scientists. Maybe we could help with that. Or because they feel no obligation to the country, only to their shareholders, they don't feel that?
I think some of these leaders do. You know, you see Eric Schmidt, the former chairman of Alphabet, Google's parent company, was part of the Defense Department's Innovation Advisory Board. He has been very active in talking to people at the Pentagon about how the United States can retain its leadership in artificial intelligence. So some of these leaders care.
Really? Because Andrew Carnegie put a library in every town in America once he got rich here. I don't see any of these guys giving back really in any way to the country. They seem just to be taking from it. Call me left wing.
I think a lot of them could do more, right? And more philanthropy from billionaires would be great. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be great, and we should demand it because this country made their fortunes possible, I think. Paul, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. Hillary Clinton says the NRA, Russia, sexism, a ton of other things, all are to blame for her defeat in 2016. After a while, you begin to think, why is she still talking like this? Is she okay? A sincere question next.
You totaled your brand new car. Nobody's hurt, but there will still be pain. It comes when your insurance company says they'll only pay 3/4 of what it takes to replace it. What are you supposed to do, drive 3/4 of a car? Now, if you had Liberty Mutual new car replacement, you'd get your whole car back. I guess they don't want you driving around on 3 wheels. Smart.
With Liberty Mutual new car replacement, we'll replace the full value of your car. Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Here you go, little guy. A cockroach can survive submerged underwater for 30 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Not getting in today. Not on my watch.
Pests never stop trying to get in. We never stop working to keep them out. Terminix, defenders of home.
How do you win at business? Stay at La Quinta, where we're changing with contemporary makeovers. Then use the ultimate power handshake, the upper hander with a double palm grab. Who has the upper hand now? Start winning today. Book now at LQ.com.
It's 99-cent Kids Nights at Golden Corral. Now kids eat and drink for just 99 cents. Under $1. Woo! It's prime time for family time. Come on now. Golden Corral. Your choice. Rules.
As a control enthusiast, I'm all business when I travel. Even when I travel for leisure. So I go national, where I can choose any available upgrade in the aisle without starting any conversations or paying any F charges. But what can I say? Control suits me. Go national. Go like a pro.
Okay, listen up. This is big. Don't miss spring break at Six Flags with big thrills like Batman and King Dakar, the Big Daddy. Want a big deal? Save up to 55% on a 2-pack of passes. Go big. Go Six Flags.
And New York Community Bank.
In New York and New Jersey, with over 200 branches locally, now you can bank anywhere you see NYCB. In Queens at Queens County Savings Bank. On Long Island with Roslyn Savings Bank. Staten Island, Richmond County Savings Bank. In Brooklyn, Roosevelt Savings Bank. And in New Jersey at Garden State Community Bank. All divisions of New York Community Bank. And in Manhattan at Atlantic Bank, a division of New York Commercial Bank.
And New York Community Bank.
Stressed because you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Freedom Debt Relief could help you be debt-free in as fast as 24 to 48 months.
We were drowning in credit card debt.
We can help. Freedom Debt Relief is the largest debt relief company in America. We've settled over $8 billion in debt for over 500,000 people.
I was relying on credit cards and my debt just ballooned.
No matter how you got into debt, our certified debt consultants are standing by for a free, no-obligation consultation. 800-313-6926.
Freedom Debt Relief was a lifesaver. They got in touch with my creditors and reduced what I owed.
With one low monthly program payment, it's the smart way to handle credit card debt.
Finally being out of debt is a really good feeling.
End your debt stress now. Call Freedom Debt Relief, 800-313-6926. That's 800-313-6926.
Hey, New York, need a break? Don't miss spring break at Six Flags. Right now, save up to 55% on a 2-pack of passes with free Hurricane Harbor passes and a free parking pass. Now that's a big deal. Go big. Go Six Flags.
It's been nearly 18 months we've been keeping track, and Hillary Clinton's blame train is not even close to running out of fuel. It's getting concerning. Well, speaking on Tuesday night at The Wing, which is a women-only club in New York, which because it's women-only is not sexist, Clinton began blaming everybody to the NRA, to misogyny itself, for her defeat in the 2016 election. Here's part of it.
Before the Comey letter, I was ahead. I got more votes than anybody in history except one term of President Obama. Every day that goes by, more evidence, more proof about, fake news and the Russians and Cambridge Analytica and, misogyny and sexism. I've taken on the NRA for years, and they spent more money against me than they've ever spent against anybody. And now we know the Russians paid for some of it, paid for actors or Russian agents, personnel, to dress up in those very attractive jail outfits and go around in a mock jail while people could yell, "Lock her up."
We know who's on MSNBC's website at midnight every night. It's not a political speech. That was more like group therapy. And honestly, the easy thing would be to make fun of Hillary Clinton. Ooh, she's so wrong. But it's past that. This is sad. Will anyone help her? She's crying out for. Where are her friends, her husband, the DNC? It's like watching someone you know fall apart. It's poignant and tragic, and someone ought to help. Tammy Bruce is a radio host, and she joins us tonight. Tammy, I'm only half joking. Whatever else this is not empowering for women. As the father of 3 daughters, I can say that conclusively.
Right. And look, I mean, there is a point where you never think you'd say this, but you do begin to feel sorry for her.
Yeah.
And as a political person, look, a part of what her complaint was at that event was that Fox News is trying to, quote, impeach her. In other words, that there's coverage of her on this network. There's actually, interestingly, of course, the complaints have come from other Democrats across the networks,
well, exactly.
People who actually worked for her campaign. But she's in a unique opportunity here, in a unique position, where since she is getting coverage and she's clearly is searching for relevance, she could talk about policy.
Yes.
You know, she could use this so that we would actually be discussing an argument that she could be having
that's
about.
Such a smart point. That's right.
And also, you know, frankly, maybe then she would be on the Tucker Carlson show, and you could have this conversation with her.
Because actually, she knows a lot, but she's not stupid, and she's been around a long time. And her claim to fame always was, "I've read the policies, you know, only I." And there's some truth in that, actually, and she could be doing that, but she's not.
She's been in the White House. She's obviously been in the Senate. She's been the Secretary of State, and yet this has devolved into this group therapy dynamic where she's going over the same complaints that people, if they are in that group, maybe they've read her book, they know what her complaints are, but she's also then inserting news of the day, like now suddenly it's the Cambridge Analytica and it's the NRA, because that's the news that's happening now. At this point, it's almost as though she's on an episode of Intervention, where people really should try to get her into the van to get